Since my Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross is telling everybody that I'm paranoid schizophrenic because I am trying to bust his drug ring operation and a child trafficking operation, but he's telling everybody that I'm crazy, let me explain to you what I've been able to do since my divorce over a decade ago. I was able to move all from Iowa to Washington State and buy a house for what was $78,000. In 4 years, 3.5 years that I was there, I sold it for 230 because of all the work I did with it. And then I moved by myself all the way back to Iowa. So across states. Bought another house for 119,000. Yeah, I was only able to sell it for 115, but I was desperate to get out of there. And then bought my house that I'm in now outright for 60, and now it's worth about 150 to 160,000 dollars. That's what crazy people do, right? I've been able to volunteer everywhere. Oh, and let me point out, this entire time I was on disability for post-traumatic stress disorder. So, disabled, I was able to do all of this. Neil Gross, Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff, will tell you that I'm paranoid schizophrenic because he doesn't like the fact that I'm busting out his drug operation. Well, the people that I'm bitching about, the meth heads, one of them is directly connected in the family of the old Harlan Police Department. He was chief of police. In town, he was known as the biggest drug dealer in town. He retired. That's one of the people who have been harassing the shit out of me since I moved into this house 3 years ago. And there's a whole collection of them, and they're all convicted meth heads. So, now we have this. Then Neil will tell everyone that Neil has had me into his office, interviewed me for an hour and a half. About all the stuff that I was trying to do. Because as a paranoid schizophrenic, I wrote a book called Rabbit Hole, a satanic ritual abuse survivor story that got nominated for Book of the year I published it in 2012. Because every paranoid schizophrenic can do that, right? So then I'm in Harlan, and the then chief of police, Derek Yamada, comes to my house, is dumb enough to be recorded for an hour and a half having a conversation about all of this. And then he sends his deputy over who wants to know exactly where my cameras are aimed because I had just put my securities out. And then, and I got that on my Ring camera because I just didn't have a front door camera. I had to put cameras all around my house because they wouldn't leave me alone. Then the very person one of the very people I'm bitching about shows up at my house and gives me their phone number 4 times, standing in front of my Ring camera, demanding that I call them because they had someone break into their house or someone break into their car. So I have all of this on tape. Do you know what Harlan did then? My town disbanded the entire police department. There is no more Harlan Police Department. They got rid of everybody. Everybody's gone. That's what happens. I guess that is just paranoid schizophrenia. You know, I must have just imagined that. I'm battling child traffickers. I've been battling child traffickers. For a long time, it was Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, who lived in Tacoma, Washington when I lived in Algona, Washington. He was 23 miles away from me for 4 years, and I never once laid eyes on him because I didn't realize he was only 23 miles away from me. When they took out a protection order out on me in Kent, Washington, every single video that was listed on there had nothing to do with the petitioners, but only and solely dealt with Doug Mesner. Only and solely. So if there was no connection there, I guess that it's paranoid schizophrenia to have a problem, because none of those videos had anything to do with the petitioners, but only and solely dealt with Doug Mesner. So thinking that there was a connection there, that's just crazy talk. Then I start talking about Isaac Cappy. If you listen to Thomas Schoenberger, who I think is running the whole organization that got rid of Isaac Cappy, he has a direct line to Neil. Direct line. Neil has told him that I see bad guys in every bush, but I volunteered for years all over town. I'm very social. I do all kinds of things for people, but I'm paranoid schizophrenia because the child trafficking group that Isaac Cappy was trying to bust open is now focused on me via Thomas Schoenberger and Phoenix Enigma, aka Corey Daniel. And I expose this, and they all go crazy and harass the shit out of me. Daniel Dowd, who has a mugshot, by the way, for abuse, and it wasn't of an adult, and Geo Farnsworth, all who have criminal records, go out of their way to let me know that they're in my town by showing me pictures of my house that was freshly painted last fall, and buildings in my house, and my best friend drops over perished. But it's paranoid schizophrenia to think that they had anything to do with it. Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross knew about all of this. All of it. He knew about all of it in real time. He knew when it was happening, because the emails that I was getting, I was forwarding to him. Just like I forwarded him all of the threats that I had before that Earling, Iowa gas station exploded. He knew about the threats. He knew about the people that were behind there on that Saturday, that were across the street to Saturday, even though we were in COVID lockdown, and then it blew up on Monday. The official report says there's only one explosion, but both he and I were on the local news station because there were two explosions. All you have to do is type in KETV, Earling, Iowa gas station explosion, and it will all come up. But on the report, it's only one. And he wrote me an email justifying it. He is running a drug operation, and he's protecting child traffickers who are on top of me. Like I said, if you listen to Thomas Schoenberger, they have a direct line to my sheriff, who is their guard dog. But I'm paranoid schizophrenia because they don't like what I'm saying. Do you see how all this works? This is how this works. They'll say anything. They're attacking the shit out of me. They break into my house at will. They harass the shit out of me. They have sent me threats that they were going to murder my dogs, that they were going to murder me. I just found out that they tried to get into my social security account by, and I quote, by social security, a myriad attempts at identity theft on my account. But I guess that they must be paranoid schizophrenic because it couldn't possibly be true. And also let me point out, it is illegal for Neil Gross, who went a couple years to cop school, to diagnose someone with a mental illness. But he's out there telling everybody I'm paranoid schizophrenic, and you can't listen to a word I say. But that's because he's trying to hide his drug operation and the fact that he protects child killers. That's what he's doing. So if you want to listen to him, go ahead. Go ahead. You know? Fuck the majority of you. Want to elect some dude who just got convicted of 34 felonies. So of course someone like me isn't going to measure up to that. Fuck, what's next? Does he get to elect all the meth heads next door to his cabinet?